I think you described hanging with all of the race family at all of the tracks is almost like being part of a traveling circus or a carnival. How long did it take for you to become an insider? And it really, with the stuff that I read that people wrote about you, like people really trusted you to tell you everything and you had great relationships. But how long did it take for you to be welcomed in by the whole family?
Well, first, I'm greatly honored by that trust. I was first 4 years just doing my job. And then we ran into a couple of bad incidents, and I covered them very carefully, and I think the community, the family, appreciated that. And so then they started telling me stuff. You know, we're doing this. Don't say anything about it unless it actually works. So through that, they knew they could trust me, that I had some sense of honor, and that led to now they're buddies. Now we're just hanging together. And it was also a day, unlike today, when the race was over, when the practice was over, it was over. So the drivers and everybody headed to a nice restaurant or something. With engineering and everything, they can't do that today. But we were much more of a family back in that time. I mean, I remember going to a steakhouse outside of College Station, Texas, and there's Roger Penske over here, here's A.J. Foyt. I mean, huge names, and they're there with their friends and their families, and they're cutting up and having a good time. Now, you know, that dinner is going to happen at the Double Throwdown high-dollar restaurant, and it isn't going to involve any of the driver or anybody that really matters, you know, so it's because they're working. My son's a performance engineer for Andretti, and the hours he puts in, especially on a race weekend. I know for the 500 this year, he went to bed at midnight and got up at 3. So, and he went to bed at midnight because he's still working on a car.
Do you think that it's because of like social media and the immediacy of how information can flow now that that also makes it so that group of people couldn't just go into the restaurant in the same way because they're more in the public eye?
Well, no, it's more what their job has become. You're a race driver, you've got these big sponsor commitments, where before we didn't have those kind of sponsors. I mean, maybe Gatorade, the Gatorade McLaren may have been the first big outside sponsor. You know, prior to that, you'd have trucking companies, and so now you got this big multi-million-dollar sponsor. So now you got to pay service to that. And more of those come in, so the driver is finding himself more and more having to go to this dinner, or that corporate function, or whatever. Then on the engineering side, the technology is getting more and more sophisticated, giving them more data. But that data has to be dealt with, analyzed, and interpreted. And so that's now taking the team manager and the engineers away. So it's kind of down to, if I want to talk to the right rear tire guy, I probably could get that done without any problem. But otherwise, those guys are busy. They work very hard and very long hours.
And I think you mentioned that Brian, your son, was kind of surprised because he put his toes in the water when he was young, and it was like still the fun party, and now it's like all very focused.
Yeah, he had the greatest job in the world in high school. He worked for Derek Walker Racing, and Robbie Gordon was driving for him. And my son's job at the end of the day, about 4 o'clock, to go over to the shop and take apart Robbie Gordon's latest wrecked car. So he had job security like you wouldn't believe. I mean, so, and then he, when he started college, he started working with then Team Green, and they kept him in the summer. Finally, when he got his aerospace engineering degree from Embry-Riddle. So now he's a full-on engineer there and has been ever since. So that goes back a long way.